Thorpe is there to take the candy.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel, and joining me as always is Ronnie Big Smooth Hennigan. Ronnie, what's happening, man?
Man, what's going on, bro? Thanks for having me on once again. And thank you all out there for tuning into our episode.
Yeah, it's a great thing because we made it 10 episodes, man. Can't believe it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hopefully, we're going for another 10 or 20 more.
Absolutely.
All right. Before we get started, this portion of our show is brought to you in part by Flow and Balance Yoga Studios. If you want to get your stretch on or just want to meditate for inner peace, visit Flow and Balance Studios or visit them at flowandbalance.life on the internet. Okay. We're going to start off on another somber moment. I don't know why this keeps happening, but it does. Today, Kobe Bryant tragically passed away along with his daughter and four other passengers on a helicopter. Sadly, we have to report this, but unfortunately, this is part of the business that we don't like to do, but it has to be done. He's survived by his wife, Vanessa, and his three other children, I believe.
Yes.
Man, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I thought it was a hoax. I thought this was a TMZ joke at first.
Yeah, you see stuff like this, and sometimes it'll pop up as clickbait or, flashing lights and a scandal, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you have subscriptions to some kind of magazine. But this is the real deal. It's all over. I know the NBA was trying to figure out what to do with that. There were fans lined up outside the Staples Center giving a vigil. And then tonight during the game between, I believe it was the Spurs and the Clippers? I think it was the Spurs and Clippers game. What happened between these two teams was beginning with tip-off, they dedicated the first 24 seconds of each team's possession to go down shot clock violations in his honor. So that was something they did to be a little bit creative, kind of with the last minute information, But shout out to them for doing that. Our hearts and our, thoughts and our prayers are going out to the family, Vanessa Bryant and the family, the kids, the organization, the Lakers, everybody involved. This is definitely something that it's pretty hard for a lot of us after watching him growing up, seeing just the impact that he had on the game, especially fresh out of high school like that, and his father having that presence, earlier on too. So just sad to hear about him and his daughter losing their life today.
Right. And a shout out to WWE as well. They gave a tribute to him on Last Minute during their pay-per-view for the Royal Rumble today. So shout out to them as well for paying respect to Kobe. He will be missed. All right, we move on from that to baseball talk. I was reading this earlier this week, and I know we had talked about it a bit, but Omar Vizquel and Manny Ramirez get snubbed. And for Omar, I believe this is the second or third time he gets snubbed for the Hall of Fame. Now, it begs me to ask, what is going on with voters that you can't get a great guy or some great guys like Manny and Omar into the Hall of Fame? Like, what does this voting process what do you have to do to get in? Like, I get it. You play 162 games. You see everybody at least 4 or 5, 6 times a year, but they had such a great impact on the game. Why are they not in, or why is it so difficult for them to get in?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for me either. I mean, you figure you have folks who were watching baseball because of guys like that playing the game, guys who never would have went to see a baseball game or even took interest, are looking at players like Manny Ramirez or Omar Vizquel, having hope that maybe they one day could join it, as far as like, us growing up in Cleveland and having that Latino presence on the West Side. And it's just hard to see someone who not only did their thing on the field, but they also made sure they were model citizens outside of the game as well. And you didn't hear much about like any kind of scandals with regards to Omar Vizquel and him doing anything. So yeah, this is weird, man. I can't really figure out why they would miss this vote continuously each year, and also what's keeping them out of there. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, man. Like guys like Canseco, A-Rod, Mark McGuire, Sammy, they get looked at for the Hall of Fame. Some of them even get first ballot. But you got guys like Pete Rose, who didn't really do anything wrong besides bet on his own team. And guys like Omar, and they're not in. And they had such a good impact on the game, it's not even funny.
Very true.
I'll never understand it. Okay, moving from that, I know we had talked about this, I think it was like Monday, but it was so funny to me. So apparently, after the NFC Championship between Green Bay and San Francisco, I saw a tweet, and the tweet came from Darrelle Revis cracking on Richard Sherman. And apparently they've had some kind of beef going on. And it went back and forth for a couple of days. And apparently the beef was Darrelle Revis, as we all know, very good corner, one of the best of this generation, shutdown guy.
True.
He knocks Richard Sherman for not being the shutdown corner that he was. And my thing with this was, not only was it head scratching at first, but it was also, why do you even care, bro? Like, you made your money, you did your thing, you covered some of the best receivers arguably ever. Why are you mad at him for doing what the coaches asked him to do? I couldn't understand it.
Right, like it doesn't make any sense at all. It's like he's playing the scheme that they have him in, and I don't know if that means that Revis was given maybe more flexibility in his coverage or something like that when he was playing, or maybe he just didn't follow what the coach was doing. Who knows? But I know for one thing, he's on the couch, right? He's not playing, nothing like that. And Sherman about to go to another Super Bowl with a different team. Let's put that out there too. Because he already went with Seattle. Now he's going with the 49ers. So let's talk about the fact that he's going with multiple teams now, okay, which is not something everybody's been doing, throughout their career. I mean, last person that
quarterback.
Right, quarterbacks, you know what I mean? Like, something like a corner or, any kind of skill position like that at that level, like, that's just crazy, man. So shout out to him and what he's doing. The fact that this brother, is someone that comes from, LA, and somebody who went to Stanford, so he's educated very well too. So
very educated. And that his education level scares me.
Yeah, me too, man. It's like almost like it's like taking somebody from Cleveland and then putting them through, Harvard or something, and they don't look like the kind of person you think would go there or that would make it.
Right.
And they do, and you're like, oh man, this dude is for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, you didn't had one of these dudes join the Decepticons.
Right.
Whatever the case is, I just felt that, Darrelle Revis hasn't played since 2014, maybe, right, around there. And even in your last year, dude, they paid you to sit down because you were out of shape, you didn't take it serious, and you were basically a liability to the team because you couldn't perform like you used to. So why are you messing with this man for doing what he was asked? Exactly. I mean, we've all played football, and the first thing coaches tell you is just to do what we ask you to do. So Richard Sherman did what Pete Carroll told him to do. Got a Super Bowl. Did what Pete Carroll told him to do a second time. Went to another Super Bowl. And now he's in Mike Shanahan's care, if you want to call it that. And Mike Shanahan saying the same thing. Do what I asked you to do and just go out there and do it. And he's in the Super Bowl again. So, what else do you want a corner to do? He's not Mel Blunt. This ain't back in the days where you could beat up a receiver before the game even started. But at the same time, you're going out there, you're doing what the coaches ask you to do. And on top of that, you're still doing it at a high level. Coming back from an Achilles tear where most people, especially players, aren't even the same person after that because they can't walk the same anymore. Shout out to medical technology.
Exactly. Guys like him and, that big scare that Gordon Hayward had a couple years ago. So seeing you guys to come back from an injury that great, you balling the way that they are.
Right, man. Look, after an Achilles tear, I'm sitting down. But Richard Sherman, and thanks for the advancements in medical technology, get back up and get back out there as soon as possible. So shout out to him. We'll see him next week in the Super Bowl. All right. Moving on from the Darrelle Revis hoopla. You said you wanted to talk about something in the NFL. Why? I don't know, but I'm going to let you have the floor because obviously it was something worth mentioning. I think it was Friday. I do believe it was Friday as I looked it up. Eli Manning finally retires.
Yeah, only reason why I wanted to touch upon that was, pretty much he went out in style. He has a little press conference and everything. And, of course, he's the last remaining Manning in the league. And on top of that, he's the only guy I know that beat Brady twice. So I'm throw it out there and become a Brady hater to let everybody know that. So he beat him twice. But the thing is, like, seeing someone like that go, it's just another reminder of, the different levels of talent or the different types of players that we've watched come through the NFL or different levels of football throughout the years. And to see players like that starting to hang it up just lets me know that, the game is definitely evolving continuously. And also it just lets me know that I'm a year older, pretty much. Because, this is weird for me, man, to see him retire or you jump across to a different sport like basketball. No more Dwayne Wade, no more Tim Duncan. It just feels weird. I don't know if I can even watch it. Once LeBron walks away, I don't know what that's going to look like, to be honest with you, because I don't really follow a lot of these new young players at all. There's some of them that I'll hear about because of the type of hype they'll get from what they did in college or because of their family. So, like, prime example, the Ball brothers and their dad and what he's doing with this brand and all that kind of stuff. Like, I heard about them through that. Other than that, I wasn't watching any of them play with their schools at all. So if not for that, I wouldn't know who they were. But yeah, man, like just seeing more and more players come out that you heard for such a long time and then finally be like, wow, that person's been around for 15 years or 20 years or whatever it is. And know how much time has went by already. And you look up at yourself and you're like, man, that time really has went by, So just shout out to him.
Yeah, it did.
We know that for a fact he's not the greater Manning or anything. Definitely has, more titles or whatever just by default.
Actually, they both have two, believe it or not, which is actually interesting because remember, Peyton won one with Indianapolis and then he won one with Denver.
Oh, right, because that one he got with Indy, that was over the Bears? Okay. So.
Yep. Devin Hester took the opening kickoff back. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah, because that was the – okay, so they went twice, but the other time they went, they lost to the Saints. And that was the Hurricane Katrina year.
Yeah. Now, and it's funny because I wanted to stop you. You mentioned the Ball brothers. I did not know anything about the Ball family until I watched the episode of Saturday Night Live and I saw Kenan Thompson impersonating LeVar Ball. I thought that was the funniest thing. I thought it was a joke until I happened to see LeVar Ball on TV. I was like, oh, so this was Kenan This who Keen is making fun of. Oh man, but to his credit, he hyped his sons up enough to where they virtually millionaires.
Absolutely.
But yeah, shout out to Eli Manning. You know, he wasn't the best quarterback statistically, but he knew how to win. He won when it mattered, and you know, the game's not going to be the same without him. I don't care what anybody says, because you know, you lived in your brother and your father's shadow, and you and your brother have done something your father wasn't able to do. Granted, he was cursed with playing on bad teams at the time, but the Aints and the Oilers. But to see Eli step out of his shadow, because to me, he really did step out of Peyton's shadow, because, you know, Peyton only did it sporadically, but Eli did it twice. That was beat Tom Brady at Tom Brady's own game.
Absolutely.
So, you know, for him to do that and still have class about it, because I know if it was me and, you know, I'm in one of my brothers or my father's shadow, you know, every time I win a game, stick it up your ears and jerk. But he was classy about it, so shout out to him. Hope post-retirement goes good. We'll probably see him on ABC or something commenting on the game.
It'd be nice if he can get that Romo money.
Man, ain't nobody getting that Romo money. Romo is on fire right now.
Shout.
Romo telling the plays before the play even happened. Like, Romo's in the huddle. Romo still want to go out there and play.
I feel it, man. I actually like him better as a commentator than I did as a player.
And you know what? He wasn't a bad player. I think Jerry Jones had a lot to do with that, and I think Jason Garrett had a lot to do with that, only because you're playing for Dallas, supposedly America's team. Not only that, like, you gotta understand, you gave this man TO, but even that was a health hazard. And just imagine if he'd have had Zeke Elliott or Dez Bryant for longer than he did.
Very true.
I just think, honestly, if he'd have had Zeke Elliott, period, I think that would have helped him out so much. I think they would have won another Super Bowl or two by the time he retired. Definitely. All right. With that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Eagles and the Josh McCown situation, because that was something interesting I wanted to bring up to you about that. So when we get back, we'll touch on the Eagles and the Josh McCown situation, and we'll talk about other NFL stuff going on. So stick with us. All right. And we are back. Last segment, we talked about Eli retiring, but before we get into that, this portion of our show is brought to you part by Train Like Rambo Fitness at Lunite Fitness Camp. You want to get that beach body, or you just want to shed a couple pounds, visit Train Like Rambo at New Life Fitness Camp. The number is 216-704-8344, or contact Abe Taylor Sr. at abetaylorsenior@gmail.com. Okay. We all saw the Pro Bowl today, and ironically, I have been watching the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge, and I saw the dodgeball game. You know, I did not realize how terrible these guys must have been at high school dodgeball, because that game was not only hilarious, but it was sad at the same time. Like, how y'all not know how to catch? Going back to what we were talking about, we saw the Pro Bowl, and I believe the AFC won again. I like the uniforms this year. This was a very standout uniform for them to be rocking this year, especially the NFC with the gold. Did you happen to catch the dodgeball game with the skills showdown?
No, I didn't get a chance to, man. Got a lot going on with this newborn, man. So yeah, I did not get a chance to catch that out, unfortunately. It
was sad and funny at the same time. Like, the reason it was sad was because I did not realize how bad NFL players could not catch. like it's dodgeball, I get it, but like Jarvis Landry was the only one catching anything securely. Like it was hilarious.
Oh wow.
I never laughed so hard in my life. But there was a story that I picked up earlier this week. The Philadelphia Eagles wanted to keep Josh McCown on the team, but they wanted to keep him on as a coach, and he declined because he still wanted to play. And we all know Josh is up in age. He's like 39, 40, maybe 41, and he's taking a beating over the course of 20 years. What did you think about that? Like, I honestly thought, he might be hanging him up. I thought he would have hung him up after the Browns, but he didn't. Got himself in good with the Eagles, and they offer him a job to stay on, but he declines it because he wants to play.
I feel like with him, I don't know. I definitely feel as though he's well past that peak, and he probably should consider taking a job like that to have that kind of stability, and then him being able to interact with the players the way he does, because over the years and him being what people call a journeyman and being all these different teams and backing them up, I feel as though he definitely would bring a different type of perspective, having seen various packages and also being a part of all these different philosophies. And it's just something that a younger player would be able to take note from, or be able to learn from, or kind of help them dive into the playbook a little bit deeper that they're presented with. So I feel like that would have been a good move for him if he did that. For him to decline it, I don't know, if that was the best decision. I know he wants to continue to play, and maybe with him being with Philly, he'll get more opportunity because Carson Wentz can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. And it really does. It makes you wonder. I don't know what Josh was thinking. Maybe he felt like he still had a little bit left in the tank, like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was to my understanding, he was also playing hurt in the playoffs this year, and I think that probably is what earned him brownie points with the team. But at this point, I do think he should sit down and take the coaching job, because they clearly offered it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't ask for it. I don't even think he knew about it, that they were considering him, until they actually presented the job on the table. So I'm thinking this would be a good move for him, and I think it'd be a good move for him in the future with his tenure in the NFL, whether it be a player or a coach, because he would be what you call a journeyman, but he has a lot to offer, because that man is very smart when it comes to the X's and O's and the ins and outs of NFL football.
Oh yeah, very much so, man. And you figure him jumping on even at a position like QB coach or something like that, whoever gets the opportunity to work with him, if he does choose to go to a position like that, will definitely be blessed, man. So hats out to what he's been doing, and also I feel like he should definitely consider it. But if not, we'll just see how long he can keep this up for.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of quarterbacks, it's also been reported Phillip Rivers has moved back to Florida to be closer to his family. Could this be a sign of him leaving San Diego to play closer to home, or is this just I want to be closer to my family in the off season? I'm gearing up for retirement. What do you think this could mean?
Let's see. Yeah, I would think gear for retirement, man. I just don't see anything beyond what's going on currently. I feel like this is just it. I just don't know what else is left to prove or left to try to accomplish at this point, or if there's even anything that is put in place for something to be accomplished. I guess is what I was getting at.
with all these, and this is only because this has some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
With all of the advancements in medical technology, medical rehabbing, surgical procedures, I'm thinking, because Tom said he wanted to play until he was like 45, which is fine.
Right.
Because let's look at the reality. LeBron's been playing 20 years, and this is the first time he's really been injured. And it's been reported he spends like $1 million a year on his training, like his body wise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thinking that because, and most players know this too, a lot of the best doctors for rehabs, for taking care of your body during the season are in Florida. I'm thinking, don't quote me on this just yet, but I'm thinking there's a possibility he could end up either in Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, or Miami before he retires. And just throwing this out there, I don't know what part of Florida he moved in because it was undisclosed at the moment that I caught it. But you look at all three of those teams, and all three of them have a quarterback situation that is not certain and needs to be handled. Jameis Winston, he hit the 30-30 club. So far, he's not lived up to what he did in college, which was, won a national championship, you won the Heisman, and a lot of people don't believe it, but there is a Heisman curse, man. If you win that Heisman, you better show out, and if you don't show out, that's pretty much your career.
Very true.
Miami just let go of Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill just took Tennessee to the playoffs. It took them to the AFC Championship after Mariota gets benched. So that quarterback situation in Miami is not really looking too good. And then Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, yes, he's a decent quarterback right now, but with the line that they have, with the problems that they're having, in the front office trying to get players to come to Jacksonville, you think Gardner Minshew's really going to stand the test of time, or at least make it through a season healthy? I'm not buying it.
Right. I'm totally right there with you. And like you said before too, man, just all these different advancements in medical technology definitely gives you that hope. If you're going to choose to go that route or to stay a little bit longer than what people feel like you should. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens, man. But I don't know. I just feel like, this probably was time to walk away, and he chose not to. And we'll have to see who picks him up and go from there, man.
Right. Okay, moving on from that, we're still going to stay with pro football, but we're going to take a little spin on it. And this was around when we were in high school. I don't know if you paid attention to it, but this was like one of my better laughters of football. The new XFL is starting this year. First game will be February 2020.
Wow.
What are your thoughts before I get into mine? This part of our show is brought to you in part by Supreme Clean Car Wash. If you want to get your car clean, just try to get some salt off for the winter, visit Supreme Clean Car Wash, located at 441 West Avenue in Talmadge, Ohio. Number there is 330-633-2809. Ask for Jimmy Milton. He'll get you together. Okay. We were talking about the new XFL. And I wanted your thoughts on it because it's happening next month, whether we like it or not. And I'm thinking there's a different outcome than it was the first time. But you being skeptical, and I can understand why, I wanted to hear your thoughts before I went any further.
Before we had looked at talking about XFL, I thought instantly back to, high school and just what was going on then, and Vince McMahon's involvement and all of that. And now you figure you have a lot more players who are still in their prime, those who are not currently on a team, or those who may not be ever touching the field because they're second or third string. So I saw a couple names on there. Troubled wide receiver Antonio Callaway has signed. I know there was some mention of like Cardell Jones and a few other guys out there is going to be given their opportunity to play. So it'll be interesting to see these guys go out there and ball and to be able to go up against, talented guys that they had previous meetings with or thought they would have had if they were starting. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, man. But I'm actually feeling a little bit better about it. I probably won't follow as hard as I should, but I do feel like it'll be better than what we saw back when we were in school.
Well, you know what? I'm going to step outside the realm of reality here, maybe because there is a part of me that thought the XFL was so cool. Like, think about it. Things that, the NFL has now, like the Sky Camp, that's still implemented. You got guys who actually made the jump from the XFL to the NFL and played in Super Bowls, mind you. Tommy Maddox was a part of those Steeler teams as a backup to Ben. And my favorite player in the XFL of all time, Rod Smart, also known as He Hate Me, played in the Super Bowl against the Patriots when he signed with Carolina. So I don't think that jump from the XFL back to the NFL for the guys that were in the NFL is impossible. But I think that not necessarily the competition, but just the fact that knowing that there's another source out there, right. This could be better than I think this could be better than other leagues that have started up and ended before their time. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think that the XFL was bad the first time. I just think that the showmanship was there and it was too much of it. Like, just go out there, let's just play football and go from there. I'm lightweight excited to see how this first 2, maybe 3 weeks of the XFL play out, because that'll be the telltale sign of how the season goes and whether or not this league is going to actually stick around this time.
Very true, and I don't see it folding like the AFL did or anything like that. I feel like, there's going to be more of a crowd drawn to this because of the personnel they have, and it's not like they're trying to feature, Trent Richardson or something like that. Because that was the thing that turned me off to it, like with the AFL. I was like, okay, so he's going to be playing? I'm like, nah, I'm good. And sure enough, the game.
Still in Canada.
You feel what?
I thought he was still in Canada.
I mean, I don't know. I think part of it was he ended up having the chance to go and play for the Alabama team that was in that league, and I think that was like his second showing or trying to get back to that in the area that he's familiar with, but it just didn't pan out either. And then, of course, the league folded. They didn't even make it halfway through the season.
Let's call it what it is. Trent Richardson was not what everybody thought he was. He wasn't what everybody thought he was in college. My years of playing indoor football, a coach who I love dearly, Fred Johnson, used to tell me all the time, in any level of football where they're paying you, it's always the best talent. It's never guys you went to high school with. And I think what happened was, with Trent Richardson, he thought it was going to be guys who played at like Mississippi State or Kentucky. And it come to find out it was guys who didn't like you and were paid to hurt you. Not only that, your football IQ showed you were not the best running back.
Right.
And, you got a pretty good check out of the deal because you duped everybody into thinking you could actually play football. So I don't think that's going to happen with this XFL. I think there are a lot of players who are hungry, wanted to get back on the field, play the game they love. And thankfully, Vince McMahon just had another avenue to where they could do that. Now that the AFL, the Arena Football League, is gone, the UFL is gone, and the American Football League or All-American League or whatever it was is gone too. Playing through the spring for these guys helps them out a lot, gives them film for maybe some NFL teams to see. I do know that some of these teams are located close to actual NFL ownership teams or NFL markets rather. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. If the product on the field is good in the first 3 weeks, I think this league has a good chance to make it.
True. And I'm glad you said first 3 weeks because that's what it takes. I mean, you got to kind of get out there real quick, make it happen, draw a crowd, get some visibility, and just hope for the best. But like you said, it's going to be guys who are hungry trying to get either back in the NFL or guys who just really love to play and want to be out there. And it's going to be guys that we actually know or that aren't past their prime. So I'm actually very happy to see that it's going to be a little bit more upbeat from what it was previously. But we'll have to check it out, man, just see what happens. And, I'm definitely hoping for the best because you figure, like you said, with some of the other leagues that have already been folded, there's not going to be any other football options after the second week of February. So,
right. And on top of that, this league starts up a week after the Super Bowl. So, we won't have a time to sit and decompress from the Super Bowl because there's another football game and another football season coming right after that. All right, moving on. I wanted to touch on the Super Bowl really quickly. Mm-hmm. If you would engage me in this, because I was arguing with a cousin, and he said Patrick Mahomes. I mean, granted, Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, but he said the Chiefs have the ability to blow San Francisco out, and I totally disagreed with him. Yeah, he was bold. He was real bold.
He said blowout?
Blow out, as in goose egg, us, them, a lot. The question that spurned in my head was, do you think it's feasible to see a blowout with the defense that San Francisco has been carrying all season, or was that comment made by a relative just them blowing smoke? Because personally, I don't see the blowout. I see a hell of a shootout, but I don't see a blowout.
Yeah, I don't see a blowout by any means. I mean, I'm still going to stick with the same thing I said last week and play that, other side to it. Because I do feel like if there is a team that has the tools to be able to possibly win that game against the 49ers, it would be the Chiefs. But a blowout? No. I don't see a blowout happening at all. And to your point, a shootout, definitely a shootout. But a blowout, no.
And the thing that bothered me about it the most was the fact that he was so confident. And my thing is, when you're going up against a quarterback with the skill set of a Patrick Mahomes or a Jimmy Garoppolo, it makes me nervous because, yes, I have a defense to back me up, but if my defense is on the field too long and they start picking me apart, it's going to be a line that I draw in the sand on the sidelines with the rest of the team like, hey, man, something's got to give. But for him to just come out and say a complete blowout, I was like, you got to show me something that can prove there's going to be a blowout. Because as of right now, the matchup defensively, meaning San Fran's defense compared to Kansas City's offense, it's about even.
Right.
And I think for every 2 passes that Mahomes would complete, there'd be a sack behind it, or a pass knocked down, or a tackle for loss. So I think the matchup there is about even. I just wonder if the bright lights are going to be too big for either quarterback, if that makes any sense.
Oh, no, I definitely see what you mean, for sure, because you figure with their first time starting in a game on this level, with this many eyes looking at you, and I just feel like that can give you a little bit of jitters, throw you off a little bit, since the experience isn't there just yet. I do feel like both teams will, be around for a while, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a repeat or if both teams come close next season. But yeah, man, definitely don't see the blowout happening at all. Do feel as though it's going to be a very entertaining game, given both teams had that rest equally as well too. So, hopefully everybody's all healed from any kind of nicks and bruises and is able to give us what we want, man. And that's a good game. So I'm definitely excited for this Super Bowl and for the ability to see a team come out here that hadn't been in 50 years. And there's just so much riding on this, man. I cannot wait for this game.
Right. And you know what's the crazy part about this? Here's the kicker. Joe Montana makes out good either way. The reason I say this is because there was a picture on Facebook, and it literally said, either way it goes, Chiefs or Niners, Joe Montana still wins. And it had his Kansas City Chiefs jersey on one side and his San Francisco jersey on the other.
Wow.
Hey, I thought that was hilarious, but it's true. He makes out good either way. His last team was the Chiefs. His first team was the Niners, and he got 4 with the Niners. He gonna make out good either way, emotionally. I don't know about, any other way, but emotionally, he's got it on both ends.
No, I agree with you, Ren. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I just feel as though you got these two quarterbacks coming in. They both have the right set of tools, right? You got one who has a really, really nasty run game behind him. And you have another one who has really good receivers to throw to. It's going to be real interesting to see how they match up and what those game plans look like that the coaches have. So I feel like if one of these two teams loses or whatever, that it may be a matter of them getting out-coached more so than them getting outplayed.
I was thinking the same thing. It's going to be a really good chess match. And my hand is leaning towards Kyle Shanahan because Kyle Shanahan's playbooks are so diverse.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming at you until it finally happens. And even then on the sideline, when you're looking at like the tablets or whatever, it's still not going to make any sense because by the time that tablet gets to you on the sideline, that whole scenario on the field is going to change once again.
Yeah, that's facts. Like, I don't even know how else to say it. I mean, that's facts, man. And to those out there listening, when you are trying to figure out what to do, when you're like, all right, do I tune into this game? Do I not tune into this game? If you're salty about your team not making it or whatever, throw all that aside. Say, look, I know I'm up for a really good game. If I call folks over, I call them over. If I don't, then I don't. But at the same time, this, folks, is definitely one that you cannot miss. So definitely make sure you tune in next week to that game and also to hear our thoughts as well. But seriously, NFL we got a banger with this one too.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you've got another subject, but in my notes, there was only one subject left. And so we're just going to keep going. And, before we go any further, this portion of that show is brought to you in part by Top Notch Removal. You got a house or a fixer-upper you want to clean out, call Top Notch Removal, 216-800-9910. Ask for Kelvin Moses. He'll come over and get you squared away. All right. The transfer portal in the NCAA. This transfer portal thing, not only is it interesting, but it's playing out so wildly. And it's a reason I'm saying that. But before we get into that, I wanted your thoughts on the NCAA letting this transfer portal play out the way that it has.
I'm trying to think back to if there was any difference in rules back in 2002, because I know for a fact that right now, and I'm not sure if it's across the board, but if a player has played anywhere from 4 or less games during that season, they are eligible to transfer and play the upcoming season. I feel like it is being done strategically now. If you're like, oh man, I got this other guy coming in I got to compete with, that might mess me up. What if he gets on the field and I don't? Maybe I lose my opportunity to go to the next level or something like that. So not a transferring out or transfer all over the place. I feel like it's just way too wide open. There's way too many moves being done. And a lot of them are doing that for personal gain. It has nothing to do with, the university and this, that, and the third. So I don't know. I just feel like it's something that I find to be a little too open. I find that they need to still have these players sit or whatever, unless it's some kind of crazy injury that occurred that season before. But yeah, man, I just feel like it's just way too wide open. I'm not sure if we're gonna ever see it slow down, to be honest with you.
Well, from what I was reading and from what was explained to me, there are some stipulations, and one of those stipulations being you had to have minimum playing time in order to transfer. The other one was you had to be a graduate in order to transfer. Mm-hmm. And that's very interesting because there was a transfer that hit the portal that I think is going to affect a team in the Big Ten very, very sorely. Mm-hmm. Penn State's number one receiver, Shorter, ends up transferring to Florida.
Wow.
Now, for those that are fans of Ohio State or just fans of college football, period, Ohio State, Penn State has become one of the bigger rivalries in the Big Ten. Not as big as Ohio State, Michigan, but it's there. It's there. And Shorter was giving Ohio State fits every time he touched the ball. Now he's gone, and he's gone to the SEC. What does this do to Penn State as far as trying to find that number one receiver going into next year?
I think it puts them in a bit of a predicament. I feel like they have a couple of up-and-coming guys, but it's not going to be enough for this upcoming season. Maybe in a couple of years they shine again, but right now, man, with the draft happening, which they do have a player or two that is showing might be drafted first round, I just don't see it happening, man. I don't know if they're going to recuperate from this next season, maybe in a couple of years, but I don't feel like next year they'll even be considered one of those teams that you're looking at, not only in the playoff, but even for chasing the Big Ten title.
Okay. Now, since you said that, down in Texas, mm-hmm. Houston quarterback De'Aaron King transfers to the University of Miami, Florida. Wow. And quarterback who was already there, Jarren Williams, transfers out of Miami. Now, this would not be as interesting if it wasn't for one person who happens to have ties to Ohio State. Tate Martell is still at Miami. And from what I read about the transfer portal rules, you can only transfer one time.
Man.
So he's stuck. He's stuck at Miami.
Right.
Jarren Williams transfers out. De'Aaron King transfers in. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, the University of Houston has produced some very, very great college quarterbacks. Andre Ware, David Klingler. Unfortunately, they didn't transfer over to the NFL because they were cursed by being drafted by bad teams in Cincinnati and Detroit at the time. But that does not discredit what they did at the University of Houston. De'Aaron King is right up there on that list with them. So as a prolific passer and a damn good runner, because he can run, he transfers into Miami. I have two questions for you. Does this give Miami the turn that they need? Because they've been needing a quarterback sorely pretty much ever since Dorsey left, Brock Berlin left. Mm-hmm. They've been needing a quarterback. So do they make this turn with him transferring to Miami? And the second question is, what does this do to Tate Martell?
Ooh, okay. So first of all, the transfer to Miami and the transfer out of Miami definitely makes sense, even with the leniency that's been given to these players to do stuff like that. And as far as Martell, I mean, you can only transfer once from what my understanding was. So with him leaving, going there, I think he's going to do a whole bunch and hasn't really proved a lot. It's going to be a situation where he ends up has a starting spot lost once again. Someone else already on the team or somebody is going to come in and just be transferred in, is going to be battling for that spot. I mean, he's going to be on the sidelines pretty much looking in at this point. So I'm not sure what he wants to do or anything or what his next step should be, but I don't see him getting the playing time that he thought he was going to transfer out over to Miami.
Well, truthfully, I don't think he gets any playing time this year because De'Aaron King, if it wasn't for Houston having a bad defense, the second half of the year, they started off 5-0. So, if their defense doesn't fall off, I think we're talking about Houston as a group of 5 team trying to make that jump into the playoffs. So now you transfer to the University of Miami, Florida, and you're in the ACC, which is a Power 5 conference. I think if Manny Diaz does not screw this up, I honestly think there is a chance. I'm not saying it will happen, but I think that there is a chance the Hurricanes actually either play for the ACC title game or they actually make a play for a national championship if and only if Manny Diaz doesn't screw this up.
Man.
Because if you looked at games from last year, De'Aaron King was phenomenal. If you look at the Washington State game, if it's not for Mike Leach, first of all, being the offensive guru that he is, and Houston's defense not falling apart at the end of that game, we're literally looking at Houston either a conference champion or a group of 5 team at a New Year's Six bowl.
No, I feel like this may be one of those teams that will go far. Maybe they're down to that bowl. But yeah, man, it's so much to keep up with. Just even sitting here talking about it got me thinking about all these other QBs or other positions that are jumping around. Or one happened that occurred was something weird I had wrote. It was talking about one of the offensive linemen from Georgia, and he is transferring to his dad's former school, Tennessee. And I was just like, so what's that all about? Because all of a sudden, I guess his dad now wants to, go out there and talk about the fact that he, lost, what was it, a finger or something like that. But it was something that occurred a couple of years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why didn't you do something then? You just now felt like this was the time to do something about it or whatever. And I guess now his son is transferring to Tennessee and both his sons will be there. And I don't know. I find that awkward too.
Of all places, Tennessee?
Yeah. Hey. Only because Daddy played there.
Man, but you got to think about it. Like, I love all 3 of my sons, and I would never want them to go to a school I went to because that's too much pressure.
Right.
Not only is it too much pressure, it's not fair to them. Let them go where they're happy. If one of my boys said, Dad, I want to go to Hawaii. Hey, I see you at the Aloha Stadium, man. We're gonna find a way to get there. I don't know how we get there, but we're going to get there. And it's just... And then of all places, Tennessee, I don't understand that move either, considering how Tennessee hasn't played for an SEC title since Peyton left.
Yeah, I mean, you figure with him gone, like, in that team, there was him, you got Jamal Lewis, Peerless Price.
Oh, my God, them running back. I forgot they were there.
Yep, that's what I'm saying, man. They had a good team, man. It was a good team back then.
And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about that, though? Because you brought that up, Peyton didn't even win a national championship while he was there. It was the guy who won. It was the guy after him who won the national championship.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
T. Martin. T. Martin was his name. For those of you guys that don't know, yes, Peyton Manning is probably the greatest quarterback in NFL history, hands down. Never won a national championship.
Hold up. T. Martin, as in the same T. Martin that played in the NFL Europe?
Yes.
He's
also, or was, he either is, still is, or was coach at a positions coach at USC. Yes, T. Martin, right after Peyton Manning left. Remember, the BCS started in '99.
Right.
Tennessee was the first team to win the BCS title game. T. Martin was that quarterback of that Tennessee team that won the very first BCS title.
Amazing.
Now, just imagine if the transfer portal was going on back then.
Man.
And you're T. Martin and you're behind Peyton Manning. Do you think you still win that national championship? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think he would have left and ended up somewhere probably like in the West Coast or maybe even up north here, man. Who knows? But yeah, he'd have been gone. He wouldn't have stayed.
Yeah. It shows you what this transfer portal is doing.
Right.
I just think with this transfer portal, I think this is the NCAA trying to give kids who are, well, let's be honest. Somewhere down the line, these players, these athletes are going to start getting paid for their likeness, for their jersey numbers, whatever the case is. They're going to start getting paid for it all across the board. Now, what I believe this transfer portal is doing is trying to give the NCAA time to figure out how to avoid having to pay them when it's time. Because like you said, California has already signed, so by the time 2023 rolls around, everybody in the state of California will be getting paid for their likeness or whatever, posters they're on or whatever. So, if you get Texas involved in this or Florida involved in this, I think you're going to be in some big trouble as the NCAA. So I think this is them buying time. I don't know why I think this, but looking at the way it's playing out, all these big name college players transferring in, transferring out, I think this is the NCAA trying to buy some time.
Yeah, I do feel the same way as well. I feel like they're trying to stretch this out more than it needs to be. I also feel like, the players themselves, just looking back in those situations, and I remember the small stint at Toledo and seeing guys show up, how they only had the clothes on their back when they showed up. They were so broke, and like a lot of the clothes that they had, there were some guys who showed up with just whatever they traveled there with and one other outfit, and everything else was pretty much provided by the university. Just free advertisement, you know what I mean? Walking around with the team's name and all of that on their clothes just really easily. Or you got bobblehead dolls and jerseys being sold and stuff like that, and you're not getting anything from it. And a little stipend that they got wasn't enough to really do anything with, and some of them guys were coming off of families who were allowing them to work a lot to try to help out, and them sending that money back wasn't doing nothing. So you had guys that were going through that kind of struggle, or some of the things that you would see if you think back to movies like Blue Chips, you know what I'm saying, and being put up in houses and all the stuff that you know for a fact is a violation that you'll never ever see. That stuff was happening on the movies, but it was just crazy to see like them finally signing this and allowing these players to get paid for their likeness and all that. But the problem I feel like is this: once you do that, you run into a series of events where maybe there's a certain game, right? And let's say the player just feels, oh, you know what? Well, I'm not getting a whole lot off of this game with regards to TV time, or maybe it's a bad idea that I play against them because I got to make sure I'm ready for this other game. So I'm going to end up sitting out this one and coming back the next or whatever, or them refusing to play for a certain reason, or I don't know, man. I feel like it's going to open up something totally different that we haven't seen yet. And I think they need to make sure they're very careful as to how they're going to regulate these funds And I also feel like one more thing regarding that, they should look into trying to maybe provide some sort of incentive where it's like, look, you know, if we're going to pay you this money or whatever for your likeness, right? How about they pay out a certain amount for the person to use, the rest is put in some kind of account. And if you actually finish school or you go through the majority of your program or your degree and all of that, you get to get that money when you're done. But if for some reason, let's say you go in, let's say it's like a year later or whatever time frame is, and you don't even make it to your junior year, then for some reason, maybe it's a penalty, you don't get to have it all. Or I don't know. I feel like they should like really deep dive into what they're doing with regards to that pay to play, man.
Well, with that, the NCAA got so many sanctions on people and so many rules. You're already not making no money. Like coaches, Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney are 1 and 2 in terms of highest paid coaches. So why shouldn't these players get some type of money? It doesn't have to be Nick Saban money, but let it be enough money to live in college at least.
Yeah.
Or at least if you graduate, you got enough money to sit on your own for at least a couple months. Like I don't think that that's fair. With all the money that TV gives, Notre Dame, the University of Notre Dame, has been in contract with NBC for over 80 years.
Yes.
The University of Notre Dame will never, if you see the University of Notre Dame on any other channel, football-wise, playing another team, and they're on another channel, like, say, ABC or, I don't know, ESPN, it's more than likely because the other team has a contract with ESPN to broadcast that game.
True.
So you think about all the coaches since 1985. All the coaches that have played or coached at Notre Dame, Lou Holtz, Brian Kelly, Chip Kelly, whoever it was. What's that guy's name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head to save my life. But these coaches get millions of dollars a year just to coach. Go visit kids, go recruit kids. Where is all of this money coming from that you can't pay 95 players on a football team?
Yeah,
I just think.
No, go ahead, bro.
I was just saying. I just think that's that scale tips in the favor of the school, and I don't like that because these kids work hard, busting their bodies, putting their brains on the line. You should be able to give them something. I don't care if you call it a stipend. I don't care if it's a full-blown check, but you should be able to give them something. It's only right.
No, I totally agree with that, man. I remember seeing guys go through that struggle, and you figure, let's say you're playing or whatever, a few days during the week, during the season, you have your conditioning session. Let's say it's from, 5:30 to about 7 o'clock or a little after 7 in the morning. You got a time to eat breakfast before your first class or 2 classes. You got a midday lifting session or some sort of film session. You got more classes, and after that in the evening, you have your regular practice. And next thing you know, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And you figure this is a rotation throughout the day that you're doing week in and week out or whatever.
Right.
And I remember seeing that schedule and being like, this is some bull. Like, what is this? Like, because I'm up at 5 o'clock. I'm about to go up in here, have conditioning. Then I'm going to go eat breakfast. Then I'm going to go to a couple classes. Then I'm going to go to an hour and a half film session. Then I got 2 more classes. Then I got to practice again at 4:35. It's going to run to about 7 or 8 at night because the dang on lights done cut on in the stadium. And you like, okay, is this a game or what's going on, And this is something that's happening week in and week out. You're around the clock doing a difference of football and school to where your entire day is taken up by that, to the point where it's like you literally have 8 hours or 9 hours just to get back to your dorm to sleep or to do homework or whatever it is that you have to do. Speaking of which, let's say, you know, all that ends as far as like the practices or whatever, they'll have tutors come to the facilities to, you know, help tutor you and all that, get your homework worked on with you and whatever. So for some guys, man, if you're struggling in a certain subject, you might not get back to your bed till like 9, 10 o'clock, and then you got to wake up and do it all over again.
Over again.
It's very tiring. And imagine doing that as a walk-on.
Ooh, no scholarship money at all. You barely eating.
Right, so you got to work too. Yeah. Seen it, man. Seen it, tried it. It was not for me.
I was about to say, seen it and done it.
So
I just think that it's got to be something more to it. I think the NCAA needs to just go ahead and figure something out quick, fast, in a hurry, or this transfer portal is going to get way out of hand before they can stop it.
Nope.
All right, folks. We appreciate you guys listening to us and sitting through us with us on our 10th episode. Hopefully we got another 10 more, 20 more in us. But either way, we appreciate the love and support. It means a lot. You can check us out on the Anchor app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube for those who are not able to get on Google, Apple, or Spotify.
And thank you so much for tuning in. And like Mel said, 10th episode, it just feels good to be able to do this, man, to be able to, you know, share thoughts, feelings about what's going on, not just with football, but other sports as well. And just keep those unbiased opinions rolling, man. So we definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in. We hope that you get a chance to watch whatever it is you watch throughout the week. And also that Super Bowl is definitely coming up next Sunday. Be sure to check that out. And more importantly, check us out.
Oh, before we go, I had a question. I've been thinking about this the whole time.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a special contest where the winner of this contest actually is a guest on our show. What do you think? Because I got a trivia question rather, and I think that it's easy enough to where somebody could get it right. There's no way you could get this wrong. So I'm thinking, and I just want to hear your thoughts on it. I haven't said yes or no to it without you knowing. What do you think about a winner of one of these trivia contests being a guest on the show?
I think that's a good idea. I feel like it's something that we definitely should do. And if they get that answer right, we should plan it out to where they come on maybe, you know, a few weeks after or something like that, so we have something solid. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that opportunity. So that's a great idea, man. You know, let's make that happen, put it in rotation, and kind of go from there, man. I definitely want to get somebody on here to be able to talk sports with them.
All right, so you heard it here, folks. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be having a trivia contest. If you get any answer right on the trivia contest, you will be a guest on our show. By the way, you know, we do like to talk sports, and if you ain't got your facts right, we ain't gonna let you on. So just come with your facts, we'll be all right. But thank you guys. Take it easy, and we'll see you next week after the Super Bowl.
Definitely. Take care.